Did you know that soil is an antidepressant? Contact with soil-specific bacteria triggers the release of serotonin in our brains. Serotonin is the happy chemical, the natural antidepressant which also strengthens our immune system. So in this talk today, I wanted to go through with you 3 benefits of connecting more with nature. The first is that connection with nature brings us happiness. The second is that it brings us a sense of humility. And the third, it brings us the greatest sense of harmony. We all know that connection with nature is therapy for the mind and body. And I wanted to emphasize this first point, that nature brings us happiness. When you have your own vegetables or your own grown fruit in your garden, there's nothing like looking out of your window and seeing the gratification of the things that you've grown with your own hands. And modern technology has given us all this technology, machinery, but it's made us so divorced from nature. And what have we gained by being divorced from nature? Are we more happy? Do we have more free time? Are we more healthy? Ironically, by the arrangement of the divine, the amount of real leisure a society enjoys tends to be in inverse proportion to the amount of labor-saving machinery that we use. The second point I wanted to make was that connection to nature brings a deep sense of humility. When you look at the outside world and you see the wonders of nature, or even a simple thing like an old tree or a great mountain, we see these things that have been there long before we were ever there, and will actually be here way after we are gone. And we are constantly reminded of our lack of power or control when we grow our own things. If you have a garden, however modest it may be, it keeps you grounded because you can't control what is going to be produced from that. The earth will give whatever it will give, and the weather will bring whatever it brings, and we have to be okay with what we have. The third point was that connection with nature brings us harmony. The earth's well-being and our well-being are inseparable. And if our mentality is unhealthy and we fail to respect the earth, we will pollute her, and that pollution will make us physically unhealthy. His Holiness Radhanath Swami, a great spiritual leader, he says it's the pollution of our heart that has to be cleaned first before we clean up the pollution of the environment. Each one of us is equally dependent on the gifts of nature. And the idea of yoga or religion or spirituality is harmony. From disharmony comes disease. Sustainability is something that all spiritual leaders around the world can be united on. And the more we find unity in a common cause, the more we will find beauty and appreciation in our diversity. This principle is so core to the Vaishnav thinking, and it's simple living, high thinking. And in conclusion, I wanted to talk about the specific tradition that comes from the Vaishnav thought. Vaishnavism has for millennia spoken about this kind of eco-theology that is extremely relevant for today. This vision enables practitioners of Vaishnavism to revere the created world. Not only are they vegetarian or promote human rights, but they deeply cherish and appreciate the natural world. And this appreciation is so intrinsic to their worldview. In fact, it permeates even the theology from this tradition. We see stories of the divine killing demons who are polluting rivers. We see examples of sages who don't have a spiritual teacher in the form of a human, but they learn spiritual lessons from nature all around them. This specific segment of the nature being a spiritual guru comes from the Bhagavad Purana. And a sage is learning all of these spiritual truths from the earth, from the trees, from the water, from fire, from the bees. And there is such a high regard for nature in this tradition. And if we're able to serve and access and experience the divine through elements of nature, then it shows us that nature also has a sacred purpose. It's not something to use and abuse. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about how the divine is nature. Krishna says, I am the original fragrance of the earth. I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives. And I am the penance of all the ascetics. So nature is not something we should protect simply for our own benefit, but it has intrinsic sacred value itself. The more we remember that, the more we will be healthy, happy, harmonious, and humble.